Hey there, podcast listeners. This is Reson Sindio, a practicing counseling psychologist. I am so excited to share with you my new podcast series called Mentally Speaking. Now, in this exciting and very interactive podcast series, I will be holding conversations with guests and on matters to do with mental health. So, this podcast will allow you to hear great life lessons and diverse perceptions on matters again to do with mental health. I believe that there is something to be learned from everybody's life experiences. Knowing that your journey can help someone, somewhere, or somehow will create a sense of hope and help demystify the misconceptions often associated with mental health. So you may be wondering, why mental health? Now, mental health simply means to be in a state of well-being where you can recognize your abilities, you're able to cope with your life's normal stressors, and you're able to work productively and make a contribution to your community. Community can be at work, with family, with friends, or wherever it is that you socialize in. Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. So basically, mental health includes or is all about how we think, how we feel, and how we act or behave. Now, today's guest is a dynamic young lady who is exceptionally talented by the name of Daisy Nduta. I will let her introduce herself so that you can really get to have a feel of who she is. Welcome, Daisy.
Thanks. Wow, exceptional. Thanks. My name is Daisy Nduta. Dynamic is a good word actually. Yeah. I feel like I do a lot of things. I feel like I do a lot of things.
Yeah.
So I'm a creative of different respects. So I'm an audio engineer by profession. Also an events producer. I curate occasionally for events as well. Stroke programming. I hope I'm not losing anyone. I'm also a radio host and I host a podcast called Wazi. I think that's enough for now. Yeah.
Okay. And where is your podcast? What platform?
Oh, you can find it on all podcast platforms. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll leave the link for you. Then when you look at the description, you can go and find it.
Okay. So you've heard, you guys, I said exceptional, and you've heard she is exceptional and very, very talented, I might add. Now, Nduta, before we start, I'll just quote a research that was done in regards to mental health and creatives. Okay. Now it says that, and I quote, over the past couple of generations, there has been a growing army of clinical researchers making the case that a high percentage of artists, this include fine artists, performers, writers, suffer from mental illnesses. The most typical symptoms commonly found among artists include substance abuse, depression, bipolar disorder, and even suicide to the extreme. Now, this research is according to Shirley Carson, a lecturer at Harvard University. So, with that brief information that you've had on that research done, Nduta, what's your take on that in regards to creatives and going through mental health challenges? They are more prone to mental health issues or illnesses.
I agree. It's true. It's factual. It's like and also in different environments.
Yeah.
I think just in general, creatives, a lot of it, I'd say, okay, my thoughts are not going to be in order, but
and it's okay. Yeah, it's fine.
So I think even from an economic standpoint, in many economies, if not all of them, you find that creatives are probably at the some of the people earning the least, or are not earning much, or before you get to a point where you're financially stable and you're living off of your craft, it has taken a long time, and that will obviously cause stress. And if you even look at like now with Corona, a lot of the most affected people have been creatives, because then if you're an artist of any respect, you lost jobs. I lost so many jobs. You get emails. Imagine you're sitting for a whole week, you're just getting emails of things being cancelled. So already being a creative, whatever you're doing, you put a lot of yourself in your work. Because it just happens like that. It's not that you sit and you plan like, let's talk about. It just happens when you're creating things. Is parts of your life, parts of yourself, or the people around you is in your work. So it's very personal. And then a lot of us are emotional, like maybe a bit more emotional. Not necessarily in expression, but just even in our work. Then a lot of us use our work to express ourselves. So then you find that a lot of you is involved in the work that you do. And then now when it comes to mental health, with economics, mental health can therapy can be expensive. You have rent, you have things that daily needs as well. So then you're struggling between choosing what to do. But some of us also use our craft as a way to relieve of that stress. So then,
as a form of therapy. Self-induced therapy.
Exactly. But mental health wise, I feel like also some of the environments, like you mentioned something like substance abuse, it's very common like around creative spaces to use certain substances to relieve yourself of stress. So if you look at most artists who are touring, who I've interacted with, is you're constantly tired because you're moving from, you finish your show to however many people in the audience, you're tired, you go to a bus, you're traveling on a bus to the next place, you sleep for a couple of hours, you're back on it. So you're not eating right, you're not resting enough, you have to show up like you woke up and slept for 8 hours or whatever. So your body is under stress, and your mind, obviously, if your mind is not functioning right, your body is not functioning right. So then some people end up going through using substances to keep them even going. So a lot of touring artists would use hard drugs as well. I mean, you've seen it in the news, like overdose or whatever, like things like cocaine, because they give you energy and you need to. So, and we don't see that unless you're around that. And I see everyone around you is also in the same headspace where everyone is tired, but you still have to.
So it's a form of social support for each other.
And even if they're not partaking in those substances,
it's not shunned.
No one is healthy because that's not a healthy lifestyle. It looks fun from the outside, but it's just not, because you're not taking care of your mind, your body, and then everyone around you is in the same state. So the mood, how will the mood change if everyone is feeling fatigued or and then but the audience is like on crazy. If you're, I don't know, whatever big artist you are and you're rocking up on stage, everyone else who's coming, I've been in the audience, me, I'm like, oh my god, it's Nani, and you're having a good time. And so there's all this pressure. Like I've been watching this YouTube series of this artist called Nduta, and she struggles a lot with mental health. So she had overdosed on the last day of her, like she came from the show today and then overdosed, and that day she was celebrating, was it 7 years sober? Wow. And that's the day she overdosed. And she was saying, like, you're looking at all these people coming to you, they're like, oh my god, you helped me get through my all these things. So it can also be hard because you're being looked at as this icon, as this person, and you're also battling your own demons. And then you're seeing how the things you're doing, some of these people, and you've been forced into this image. No one, you're now the brand ambassador of I don't know, not smoking or not doing whatever. But you didn't choose that; it was chosen for you.
Yeah, it was. It's a crown that was placed upon your head.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can get a lot.
Wow.
I mean, that's on a gradual level.
Yeah.
I'm not operating that level.
Yeah. I like what you said, because I did do a podcast with another creative, Wairimo, and she did mention that the creative industry is all about emotions.
Yeah.
It is about emotions, how you're feeling, what you're thinking, where your psychological headspace is at. And because you have to deliver, then you have to be emotionally present. And when you're not emotionally present, then you can't be creative.
Yeah.
You can't give what is expected of you as an artist, as a musician, as a writer. So you look for, I like the way you talked about the coping mechanisms, the substance abuse, the drugs, the cocaine, the weed, to give you that extra edge, to be able to take you to the next level that you need to go to perform, or to produce, or to do what you need to do. So thank you, Nduta, for your take on that. It was very, it was very real. Yeah, I could even hear from your boy, it is an area that needs to be addressed. Yeah. So now, if I may ask you this question, do you feel or think that creative people are more prone to mental health challenges or even illnesses? Having shared what you have shared, that a banker is not going to go through what you as a creative is going to go through, an accountant, a lawyer, a pilot. Yeah.
I wouldn't say we are more prone, because then that would be very, I don't know what metrics we're using.
Yeah.
I'd say though we are a bit more exposed because of, again, the environment that we are around.
Yeah.
So I think, even when I think of corporate sometimes, corporate, I mean like not the bankers, the guys in offices, they suffer, they just suffer in silence.
True.
So maybe us, again, because we express through art, we may talk about the struggle.
You're in the industry of emotions.
Yes. Yeah. So we might verbalize it, or we might act.
Yeah.
So you've had these things where people are like, and I think, in fact, something I didn't mention before is, for a long time, the creative industry has not been looked at as a profession. So that's also another struggle that we are always constantly dealing with, where you're always working against the grain.
It's like
because everyone is not seeing like you're serious.
Yeah, you need to keep proving yourself.
And that alone is a pressure that will lead to somewhere mental health, because imposter syndrome, things don't work out. You see, for everything, even you as a banker, you probably struggled, you did what, it didn't work, you tried again. It's the same thing, only that we don't have, we have a conversation with a friend of mine and we're saying, you see, in creative industries, there's no ladder where you're like, oh, I was a supervisor, now I'm a manager. Because the metric of success is very individual, which is the same for everything. It's just that there's no markers that are clear for everyone. Sorry, go on.
Are you, sorry to interrupt, when you say that there is no ladder of, there's no measure of, I started down here and now I'm up here, if I beg to differ there and say that probably when you started as a let's say as a musician, you would perform in church, or you would perform in front of your family, and then you got an opportunity to perform probably for a corporate function, and then through there you are discovered, and you are now performing nationally, and then you're regionally, and then globally. So isn't that a measure of success, or how do you measure your growth?
You're right. I think I used the wrong word. I think what I mean is there's no title. I don't use the word title. What I mean is, you see how, let me use the same example. There's a supervisor, then from supervisor you go to manager.
Yes.
So then it's, when I tell you, oh, I was a supervisor, now I'm a manager, you're like, oh, I see that. But for that person who was performing at church, even when they move to the crowd of 30 people, it's still a step. It's just there's no title for that thing.
Oh, okay.
So then it might look like something small to someone else, but it's still
there's no defined role or
Yes.
title that is attached
to it.
Okay.
So more prone, I'm not sure, but I think we are a bit more exposed.
Okay.
Also because the environments within which you see, also creativity is broad. It can be your visual artist or your. So if you look at the entertainment industry specifically, where you're performing maybe in clubs. So then you're a bit more exposed to substances.
Or alcohol too.
Or if you're still entertainment industry, maybe you're traveling a lot. So what I was talking about, if you're touring, you're in travel. So then you're away from your family, probably. You see, maybe I don't know how long you're traveling for. Are you traveling to new countries? So it's new environments. You're not comfortable. So. Yeah, that would. I think we are just a bit more exposed because even on a smaller level of just the community, you see, assuming you have friends who don't understand what you're doing, you'd always feel like you're out of place. Because you're like, oh, but you don't get it. You don't get it.
Because probably you're sitting in with friends or colleagues, and everybody can define who they are. I'm a banker. I work with this and that.
Yes.
I'm a lawyer.
And their metrics are a bit more what I was talking about. Oh, I'm now a manager. Now when it comes to me, I'm like, I don't know how to explain.
I'm a senior partner.
I don't know how to be like, or it would take me so many words to say for you to understand. And I've actually experienced that. Where it's like, oh my god, corporate. Like I literally made a whole podcast about corporate. But it can be frustrating. So also it's not actually this far-fetched idea of random people. It's even people around you. So maybe it's your friends, your family, whatever. Where even when it gets to you, maybe they're a bit more disinterested because they don't get it. So it's like,
it's just not serious.
We know what Nduta does, but honestly,
I don't understand.
It's not, and you're not putting in effort to understand. So even me, I'll be like, I just never tell them because what's the point?
Okay. Wow. That can be frustrating because you're very passionate about what you do. So if somebody does not give it the acknowledgement that it deserves, it can have an impact on your mental health.
A lot.
Wow. Okay. Now, how would you say your mental health? I remember when we started, you said that you had a lot of cancellations because of COVID. I'm wondering, how did that affect your mental health?
A lot. I think for me also, it was a lot because I had moved from one country to another, and then now I couldn't go back. So I'm like, okay, let's see how this goes. So then I was transitioning to a new space. It's not really new. It was just a bit new because things had changed. And then we were in lockdown, so then I was not really going anywhere. So I was in the house a lot, but I had nothing to do. I didn't have school, I didn't have work, so then I was not really engaged mentally. Surprisingly, I didn't watch as many movies as I would have assumed I would have done. So then I felt stuck because I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like I'm just, I wake up, clean, do stuff in the house, and then I'm receiving these cancellations where it's like, and it's understandable because we can't do a gig. And then for me, I was like, I don't know.
It's not global. Just you.
It's not a big problem. Then you don't know if I didn't know if I was ever gonna go back. So I'm like, okay, I've spent all this time building my career up to this point, and this is how it just ends. So, and then now I'm starting from scratch because then I don't know people in the industry here. I can't network or reach out to people because I don't know how to reach out to people. So actually for a while, I think for like a few months, it's when I was like, and I actually didn't know how to tell people because I'd also convinced myself that, you see, also I'm seeing everyone is going through it, so it's like, okay, but everyone is struggling. But
so when you say that, you're actually denying what you're going through. Because you feel like, am I being selfish? Everybody's going through the same thing, so why should mine be any? So you suppress your feelings, your emotions. Yeah.
And it was just bad, honestly.
Yeah.
Because then I didn't tell anyone.
Yeah.
Again, because I was just like, but everyone is now. Why am I calling Nani and they're also going through whatever?
The same,
yeah, and I think I didn't realize it until there's a day my mom just called me. I lost weight like very drastically. Even I didn't know I'd lost weight.
Yeah.
You just start wearing clothes, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Even the jeans that would fit you tightest, you're like, hey, there's a lot of space.
Yeah.
And she was just like, are you okay? Like, are you stressed?
What's happening? Yeah.
And I was like, no, because I didn't.
You never acknowledged it.
I was like, no, I'm not. I'm fine. I'm just like, I mean, it is what it is. I think I said something like that too.
Yeah.
But then after, I was like, I even went and asked myself, I'm like, hey, am I stressed? And I was. But I needed that person to ask me to realize, like, oh, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that would have gone longer before, like, if she didn't ask
how far it would have gone. Yeah.
Because it was, and up at that point is when I was like, okay, maybe I need to, do something about this, or try and do things differently. I don't know what that would have looked like. Yeah, and I know of other people, because you see, even the creatives in Nairobi alone. For me, I was lucky. I'm living with my parents at the time. I'm not paying for stuff, so I don't have to worry
about food, shelter.
Yeah, I was just a bit too stressed because now on the other side, I was paying for things. So I'm like, all my savings, And then it's just like, there's no good news. It's just like, you're in the negative. It's just now you start worrying about all these things that at the time it was societal pressure as well.
Yeah.
Because now the imposter syndrome, I'm an artist, should I think of another career? What am I going, all those things start coming. And I was lucky again, I didn't have to worry about some things. And now there's someone who that is their way of making money fully. They may not have the luxury of going to their parents. I mean, there was a lockdown for people who were locked in Nairobi and they couldn't go home. Others were locked outside. In fact, us guys were almost locked outside of Nairobi. And if you're just that feeling of just being stuck, you can't be creative again. So for me, I was just like, oh my god, I want to do something, but I couldn't. There was a project I was working on with guys like still in Melbourne, and I was just like, I can't. I also had to be honest with myself and be like, you just need a break because you can't.
I like that I had to be honest with myself. So you actually acknowledged what you were going through. You acknowledged the challenges you were feeling, because even as you shared what you were what you went through at that time, I pick up a lot of stress. I pick up a lot of anxiety. I pick up hopelessness, helplessness, and all these are going on within you, and they are bottled within you because you're not talking to anybody. Because you, as Nduta, have not even acknowledged to yourself, or even if you have acknowledged, you have diminished it, like really everybody's going through the same, so I'm not special. But what we need to appreciate is that you are special in the sense that your mental health is a priority to you. It cannot be a priority to anybody else other than you. So when you take accountability of that, then you're able to identify and seek whatever help that you might need to help you over that challenging phase. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for sharing that, Nduta. Now, I want to know, during that time, what were the signs and symptoms that made you know, hey, I'm not doing well. I need some sort of help. I need to talk to somebody. I just need outside, external help or validation or whatever you might want to call it.
Well, there was that conversation
with your mom. Yes. And the physical sign of losing weight.
Exactly. Yes. But I think for me at the time, I didn't think too much about the weight. I was just like, Then after that is when I was like, wait, no, I didn't remember, because I was still eating. But it's like, why am I still like, why have I drastically become so small? I think pushing away people, I just didn't feel like talking to anyone.
So you isolated yourself.
Yeah, and I'd always justify it because I really like my space. I really do. So for me, I was just like, no, I just want to be by myself. So maybe I'd stay in my room a bit longer, and then I get really frustrated when people like my space. So if there was a time where we had like some relatives who came to stay over. So I was just like, oh my god, just I just want to be by myself. And it's not rude or anything. It's just I don't have the energy. But that was now maybe a bit much where I just be like, I don't want. Then I think for me, I also got into this habit. My coping mechanism, when I was in Melbourne, was
I like what you have talked about coping mechanisms, because that was the next question.
Oh, okay.
So, yes, I like the way you've just flowed into it.
I'm a pro. I'd go for walks. So like I didn't like walking, so I just walk to a new neighborhood. So maybe I'll catch a tram. Let's say if not like I come to Karen and I'm like, oh, I'll just walk around Karen, and I'd probably listen to earphones or something, like just walk. Because it's a new environment, so for me it would just like help me see things different. Like I'd see things I'd never seen, or I'd just be a bit more present like that, and I knew that's what helped me. So that times I even walked home instead of maybe catching the tram, just to clear my head. So now with lockdown, I had walked around my neighborhood enough times to be bored with it. So I was like, oh my god, I need to go somewhere else. And it was just hard because then I was like, where do you go? And I think like I really hate what our government is also doing with spaces, because I'm like, the only few public spaces are now being built on, like, because those are the places you go. You go with your mat to sit somewhere. Or at the time for me, it was just hard to go to other places where I would have had the same experience. So like Karura, or they were just a bit too, proximity was far for me. So I actually started doing art, which is something I still do to date. I'd always wanted to start, then I was like, I mean, I'm at home, I'm doing nothing.
Painting, drawing.
Painting. And then I used to draw when I was a kid. I started drawing again.
So you discovered something, that you discovered a passion that you had not really paid attention to.
Correct. And it was fun. So I was like, okay, and it made me feel good. So I was like, yes, we'll keep doing it. So like the art for me till to date is like a therapeutic thing for me. So I'd be like,
fantastic.
If I feel how I'll just go do, even if I'm not feeling some type of way, every time I do it, I'm just a bit more happy. So then I started with art, and then I went back to podcasting because I hadn't done it in a while. And that I think was like the biggest pick me up for me, because I was like,
the podcast, you started doing podcasts during the lockdown and during a time where you were feeling very overwhelmed. So this was like a sort of a release for you. So like I had done podcasting for a while. In fact, I'd planned to record some stuff, which is now, I guess, some of these frustrations. So I was like, the way I planned to do stuff, it didn't work out. So I had to cancel because COVID, and you're just not too sure if someone is sick or whatever. So then around, I can't remember which month, but somewhere in this period of uncertainty, I was like, let me try and ask these people if they're interested again, because I was really keen to do that series. And the first episode I recorded was with a friend. I remember that day I forgot to carry my charger, so the recorder died, and I was like, okay, we'll just do this again. And then the next one I did with two of my friends, and that day I was so happy. And I was like, why am I so happy? And I realized I actually started feeling like myself again. So I was like, oh my god, that was it. So then I just kept doing it, and then it got better. So that actually was one of my coping mechanisms. I've had you identify 3. I've had you talk about going for a walk, just going and clearing your head, and you feel much more aware of your surrounding, even of your being, your temperament, you can feel what you're going through. I've heard you talk about painting or art, or and also this being a sort of release for you. And now you've talked about podcasts.
Yeah.
So I mean, the reason why I want us to identify the coping mechanisms is so that artists out there like you or creatives are also able to identify that even with the restrictions that we have going on, through those restrictions, the lockdown, the curfew, creatives can thrive.
Yeah.
It can be a breeding ground for new ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think also one that is still a struggle, I know for a lot of people and for myself, is you don't get to really meet because when you're creative, you need to be around other creatives.
Yeah.
Not people who even do the same thing. Just you just really get to. There's a way it stimulates.
There's an energy that it comes with. Yes.
And that was a struggle. And I think for me, I struggled even more because I just didn't know. You see, now I don't like saying stuck because I wasn't. But I was now in Nairobi and I just didn't know creatives. At the time, even the friends that I had who came back hadn't come back. So I was like, ooh, okay.
Yeah, where do I start?
Yeah, it was so frustrating.
Yeah.
But, eventually it worked out. You meet one person, they introduce you to another. So it can be hard when you're not around others because even if you want... and that's why I was getting frustrated. I couldn't create something new or something that I had been working on. It's not like I didn't have the idea or anything.
You did.
I even get tired when I think about it. So I'm just like, I can't be getting tired of the one thing.
So the surrounding, the social support system of creatives is very, very important.
Correct.
For the energy, for the feeling, for the thoughts that you share, the space is, you would also almost call it a safe space because you get each other.
That's it.
Okay.
And so a lot of us were stuck in places where other people didn't understand that.
Okay.
Or so I'd say like for me I was lucky because my sister is fairly creative. So then maybe I'd help her with some of her stuff, and my mom is just very, I don't know if that is understanding. Like I think because she knows we are just creatives, she
gives you the space. Okay.
Or she's supportive in how she can, and she'll ask, okay, what can I do? Because it's not something she's in like that.
Yeah.
But now there's people who are in spaces like those where you're stuck, and it's like, you see, you're not making money, you're being reminded of why you shouldn't have picked that as your career, and you see now how will this help you?
Go and do this, you refuse, you would not have been in this area, look at so and so, they're still going to work. Okay, that can bring quite a damper.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. With all that, you going through all that, those feelings, those thoughts, those emotions, did you ever, or even now, have you ever sourced professional help? And by that I mean gone for therapy, for counseling?
I have before, not in this period though.
Okay.
And I think, the biggest challenge for me was just money. But also to an extent, I want to discredit that by saying, it's just that thing, you're like, therapy is expensive, but then you spend the same amount of money on something else, you're like the gym, is it really expensive?
Like the gym, like shoes, like going out.
Yeah. So I understand the money aspect where like I've been stuck there. I have seen a counselor before, a therapist before.
And how was that experience for you?
Well, it was a good experience up until a point where I went to for a couple of sessions. The therapist was good, there's nothing wrong with him. There are things I couldn't talk to him about, and even then he recommended to switch, which I thought was very good because then it's like, okay.
So he referred you to...
he was like, if you don't feel comfortable talking about this, I can refer you to someone else. I don't even know why I stopped going, to be quite honest. I just remember not going anymore, but I felt better. Though I know it would have been even better if I kept going. But I just, Yeah, I just stopped.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But I like the way you said that even though you didn't feel like everything was handled, you felt better.
Yes.
You felt better.
Yeah.
With whatever sessions you had, they were able to make you feel a certain way that you were not feeling before. Good. I think that's very positive. Yeah. Now, would you recommend therapy to your fellow creatives or to your peers, colleagues?
No, I'm kidding. I would, and I think, yeah, I'd recommend therapy.
Yeah.
And I've seen, like, my sister puts up an event, well, not anymore because of restaurants are closed.
Yes.
But she used to do an event every last Sunday of the month, at Aroma, where it was mainly for artists, but anyone could come. It's just like, we realized as artists we don't have, and by artists I mean mainly visual artists, but then we had all sorts of artists and also randoms. And by randoms I mean everyone else was not an artist.
Yeah.
Wow. Where it was just like a space where we can now, what I was saying, we don't have spaces. And these are things us guys felt now in COVID. So then she solved that problem by being like, yo, we have
providing
a space.
an environment.
My mom provided her restaurant, they don't open on Sundays. She's like, if you want, you can use it.
Yeah.
So for now, us to come and just meet and see what we can do. So she did one for, I'm answering the question, don't worry.
Yeah.
She did one where someone listening didn't answer the question. It was like, oh, let's make art out of trash.
Yeah.
So she was expecting maybe like 15 people.
Yeah.
There was like 50 people. So she's like, oh, okay. And it was fun. And then at the end of that session, they were like, oh, what would you guys like us to do? Not even at the end, towards the end, people just started really opening up about the struggles that they're going through.
So
not
it was
just
like
as
a therapy
artists.
session.
It was
a group
therapy session.
Wow.
Not just as artists, but as individuals and what the spaces they were at. And it was so we're like, well, most of us are strangers to each other, but people felt safe enough to share. And so after that, she was like, okay, we probably need a professional because none of us are professionals. But she clocked that need for creatives needing mental health. Okay. So she spoke to a couple of friends and they came. Now the next one was like mosaic, mental health, and this other thing. Those are the two main things. So we make art and we have conversations around mental health with professionals. And what those guys did is, for like the next month or something, they're like, oh, we can give you a package, like a discount for group therapy. Wow. Because then it's cheaper to do group therapy than it is to pay maybe for one-on-one
individual sessions. Yes.
So then it's an incentive to try and get people to therapy without it being too expensive. Because if you're charging 200, I can afford that. Or if I know it's maybe 2,000 as opposed to 4,000, I can even save for a while and be able to pay for that session as opposed to not going. So the need is there, and I'd recommend a lot, because you could see the different. The next time more artists came,
because the word spread.
They also knew, like, those who came last time to their friends, you come for the next one. So, and even incorporating, I think having those conversations in artist spaces is helpful, because you might not know. It's like, I hear about this therapy thing, but I don't know anyone who's done it, so why would I try?
And also, let's be honest, there's stigma attached with you saying that they're going for therapy means that you have some mental illness, you cannot cope with life, you're weak. It has its own misconceptions that go with, one admitting that they need, they need help. So I'm having reached there, Nduta, and talking about the stigma attached to issues to do with mental health. What's your take on that? Why do you think there is stigma attached?
I think it's fear. I think there's definitely a generational gap where, now I don't know, okay, when I say our parents, I'm like, your parents are how old? I think maybe I'd say 2 generations on top of us. Maybe guys from 50 upwards. therapy was just, what is that?
Yeah.
In fact, I don't remember hearing therapy anywhere.
True.
And
True.
someone said to me, there's this thing where it's common that if you're seeing someone, you've had this phrase, I'm sure, like, oh, why are you talking to someone about your feelings?
Yes.
So you go and talk to, or whatever.
To somebody in your family or to the church or
and
to,
even,
yeah.
Oh my God. But even, because I was thinking about it, I'm like, someone like, who's 57.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a person I know, I just don't say who they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, they went through such life-changing things that were happening very quickly, where it's like you've lost so much, and men just really, for that generation, just don't talk about stuff. So then you've been bottling these things all your life, and we are seeing that your life is not okay because the things that have happened and like they're heavy, but who are you talking to about that stuff? Because you need an outlet, and this is where substance abuse comes in.
Exactly.
So
where domestic violence comes in.
Where it's just a lot of
alcoholism, just workaholism. You just put all your energy, time, and you don't want anything to do with anybody, but work gives you that release.
Yeah. And so it ends up affecting everything. So going back to the stigma, I think now with a lot of people our age or in our age group, we are a bit more aware of the benefits of therapy. But I've still seen the fear is still there, and the fear is saying you're going for therapy. You're not afraid to go to your therapist. You're afraid for other people to
open
know
up and share with other people that you are currently seeing a therapist. Okay.
And I think it depends with also your friends, to be quite honest, the circles that you're around, and if they're affirming, all those two jokes. And I think my take also on the stigma is a lot of times when you're making jokes or saying things against that thing is because you're projecting something. So then even taking time, a lot of us don't take time to do it ourselves, and that's where in this COVID time for lockdown, it was just very hard for most of us. But it's because it's not normalized. So I was saying to a friend, like, I came back to Nairobi, I was like, people in Nairobi know how to party, it's not a lie. But I just felt like it was a lot at some point. I'm like, hey, people just don't, even drinking, just like let's just sit down. We can still drink the same thing, but we are having conversations. There's no conversations in most spaces. It's just, even something that was supposed to be so chill becomes turn up, and it's like a lot, like on the, not extreme, because it's not extreme, it's just like, people don't have conversations with their friends. They don't know each other. And it's okay to have friends for partying, but it's like the people who are close to you, you don't know anything about.
Would you say that it's more superficial than there's no depth?
That's it. And also, you see, I've also been that person who's trying to initiate conversations, but you're seeing, these people don't. It's not, they don't want to have that conversation.
You don't want to go deep.
And it's like, okay, I guess I'll just stop. Okay. But it's something I noticed when I moved, and I was talking to some friends who I was with in Melbourne, and we came, and they're like, oh my God, me too. So I was like, okay, it's not just me who's seeing. And I think it's because of, I don't want to blame society, because you can't blame society forever, but a huge part of that is we are also part of the group that's transitioning into accepting therapy, and like it's a good thing, it's not bad. So
would you say that this like you let's say, for example, what you've said, you've just gone for a drink and then it's turned up to be a party, something that probably lasts 2 or 3 days.
Very likely.
Is this like the coping mechanism that people are also using to deal with the issues and challenges they're going through? That I can't get deep because if I do, I don't know where to stop, or I don't know where to start, or it's too painful. So I'd rather mask it, as we talked about before, coping mechanism. substance abuse, drugs, alcohol, sex, risky behavior. So this is as a sign or symptom that there's so much more going on underneath.
Yeah.
But they're dealing with on the surface level.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
And then the worst part about that is like, it's a coping mechanism that is not allowing you to cope with anything.
No.
It just it's a pause button.
It's just it's a suppressant. It just suppresses.
Yeah. So then it just that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. As we conclude, Nduta, this such a lovely conversation. I'm really enjoying it. Your final words on mental health, on therapy, on creatives, and how would you encourage them?
Highly recommend therapy. As much as I may not be actively doing that.
Yeah.
I think as creatives, you also need to find time to yourself. And that, even being a creative, can be very hard to do. But I found that to be very helpful for me for my mental health.
Okay.
Where I understood myself enough to know my non-negotiables, to know when I need to not be my triggers. If I'm here, I can identify some of those things and be like,
I like that. Identifying your triggers and knowing that you're not at a good place.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think, and I mean, you miss them. Like I said, I was struggling, and my mom was like, "Hey, are you okay?" And then that's when I was like, "Oh wait, how did I not see all of it?" And in some instances, I'll be able to be like, "Hey, I can't go in that space," or "I can't do that thing," or and some of them are not even like crazy. It's just I might not be able to go for an event because I'll be too anxious. If I'm alone than if I'm with someone else. Even if it's like maybe I don't know, whatever it is. And also really encourage conversations. And they don't have to be super deep. It's just learn the people around you and just get to know people around you.
Would you say authentic conversations?
Yeah. Meaningful. Okay, no, let's not use meaningful. It's used very wrongly these days. But I'd say. And also push those conversations with your friends. You'd rather push and then they don't. There's a friend group of ours that there was a time where the group chat was gossip, man. Like, and one day I was just like, "Hey, you guys, apana," because for me, and what would happen is I wouldn't participate, but it's there. But then you see, if there's nothing I've changed, they'll still do it again. So there's one day I was just like, to be quite honest, guys, how is this helping any of us? And it was just that simple question for everyone knows it's not helpful. And since that day, there was just no gossip. And then the conversations that we have now, my goodness, I mean, we've also grown up. Life experience, but then it could be some things that are being said, that are being done, and you question someone. The way I was asked, are you stressed? I just never thought I was stressed.
So you're saying that you should be aware not only of who you are, but these people who are in your support system or in your social circle, change of behavior, change of the gossip that you talked about, what is happening. So don't label, maybe confront, but confront, we are not saying it in a negative way. Confront or challenge, like what is happening. Can you share? Is everything okay? So being present and making the other person feel that you are available.
Yes.
Okay.
And also doing that when this is a habit that please do it. Even if you are talking to someone, just make sure that person is also in a space to receive whatever you. So it should be a habit, because you can assume that's your person for whatever, but they're just also not in a position to take that. But I like what you've said, also noticing changes in friends and just asking, because this is another thing that I've seen, especially in maybe a party situation and around substances, where because it's a bash, if someone is really, really drinking a lot or doing something a bit
excessively,
then we just allow it because it's a party. And it's like, no. You can tell when something is just being done a bit too much, and that person might look happy and you know they're doing their thing, whatever, because it's a bash. And even if it goes, it will, at least for that person, when you ask them, or it will allow them to think about it. Even if in that moment they're like, no, I'm fine, they'll think about it later.
And also probably might, just to add that, even as you approach this person, you're not approaching them in a judgmental way.
Correct.
You're not approaching them in a condemning way. You are being curious. You're being aware that maybe there is something that is going on. Okay, so the mode of approaching somebody should also be in a very sensitive way. Okay.
And it's a skill that I learned because I was not good at it. But it's something you try. And I think the other one also, just for change of behavior, because you mentioned, it's small things like you used to talk with someone every day, and then they just, you know, they're like, hey, Amma, they used to be prompt, they respond to you, their responses are not as regular. I mean, you can try, you know that person best, so you know maybe, if I call them, they will pick the call, as opposed to, you see, I've been texting them, they're not responding as much, or try and meet with the person, whatever it is. And just remember, you're not a therapist if you're not a therapist. So
so stick to your lane.
Be the friend. And recommend. And I mean, you can talk through stuff with someone, but also, and your friends are also not therapists, so don't burden. And by burden, it's not talking about it. It's like when you now make it a therapy session.
And also, I think, Nduta, being able to identify what kind of maybe conversation you're having and how is it being received. So if probably as a friend you come to me and you're venting, let me be able to take time to identify, what does Nduta want from me? Does she just want to vent? Does she want advice? Or does she want to be challenged? So listen to the words that this person is saying, the way they are saying it, their actions, their verbal and non-verbal communication. From there you'll be able to identify. And you and Nduta just wanted to vent. So you say nothing. You just like, oh really? Did that happen? Oh, okay. But not, how can you let that happen? By that you'll chase this person away. So being able to identify, what does this person want from me, even as they come and talk to me.
Wow, that's a good one. Actually, a habit I made now is I usually ask people if they want an advice. Those ones for if you like, do you mind? I don't know, you can phrase it however you want, but can I add, or can I whatever?
Are you okay if I suggest?
If they say no, it's like cool.
Okay.
Because sometimes you might misread the situation, like you're saying. The person just wanted to let it out. They solicited advice. Now you even make them want to vent more.
So thank you so much, Nduta. It's just been so nice, very lively.
Thanks for having me.
I always enjoy these conversations because I also learn a lot. I also go back with a lot to reflect on, a lot to analyze, and a lot to learn. So thank you very much. I've enjoyed it.
Same.
And I'm sure you'll be a guest very, very soon, because I know there'll be a lot of requests for that energetic, exceptional, dynamic.
Dynamic is a good, that's what I'm keeping.
That's what you're keeping.
That's what I'm keeping.
Sawa. So as we conclude, dear podcast listeners, I challenge you to make your mental health a priority. Just as you strive to look your best on the outside, ensure that you feel your best on the inside. Make this a personal undertaking. Be accountable to yourself and to your mental health. And remember, in the course of a lifetime, not all people will experience mental illness, but everyone will struggle or have challenges with their mental health. I am Reson Sindio, a counseling psychologist, and you've been listening to my podcast, Mentally Speaking. You can find me on the Anchor platform under Spotify, and you can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and please don't forget to rate and review and subscribe for future interactive, informative, thought-provoking podcasts like we've just had with Nduta. Thank you for listening. Do take care and stay safe.